So basically, I wanted to demonstrate the final RC release candidate of the Shadow software. So not a lot of my wires aren't really down yet, but all mechanicals are done. So basically, two controllers, your drive controller. Once you enter your MAC address, whatever one you enter the MAC address for becomes your primary. Even if you boot it up out of order, the code will switch back to that controller as the primary. So it's pretty efficient that way. In fact, I changed some software variables that I noticed that my R2 has issues with, so that'll fix that too. So kind of fixed quite a bit by coding the BB8. So the Shadow consists of a MKII and a standard Mega Arduino. And the ADK is used to simplify. I need a USB connector to put a dongle into, standard B connector, or A, one of the two, I think it's A, to insert a dongle that is Bluetooth class 1 or class 2 type 4 dongle. And there's only a certain set that are compatible that I will list on the documentation. So it'll boot up on the ADK. This is the Shadow controller. It basically replaces Joe's Nano that sits up in the joystick. All that functionality is now on this ADK, and it talks back to the standard main controller via serial. Also, major changes. The Shadow controller also connects to the soundboard via serial instead of directly connecting Arduino pins to the sound card. We now just use serial. What that gives us, what that allows us, is to unlimited combinations, functionality across the serial channel without having to hard code buttons or pins. At that point, it would only have been 8, and I think Joe uses some randoms in there. But now you can clearly talk to that serial board over serial, soundboard over serial. It uses 2 pins, 4 and 5, to tell it to reboot into serial mode, and the second one is for capturing when it's playing a sound. As you can guess, I got to send that data up to the dome to tell the PSI to flash. So everything is really off the Shadow controller. The main controller, the original Joe code, is pretty much intact on the main controller. I did have to rewrite some methods to work better with the Shadow over Joe's methodology, but pretty much the same. Everything else you see, though, is pretty much what you would get out of the bill of material that Joe provided, with the exception of the Mega ADK dongles, the PS3 nav controllers. I'm now going to be connecting a slip ring that will power the body's Nano that does lighting and allows me to connect to it and tell it what to do over 2 pins. So everything else, though, is pretty much Joe's, with the exception of the serial for sound. So without further ado, I also installed and I don't know what I did with it now that I need it, a class garage door opener. So A being only one channel, not A, B, C, or A, B. So it's just one channel, and I can turn on that way I'm not pulling a panel off or anything. And if it's off, it's in standby. I still have an on-off flip switch here on the side. So my configuration is going to use LiPos, not the big battery assembly that everybody else is kind of putting on these A-frames. I'm just going to use two LiPo 11 volt 4 amp 3-cell batteries on the side, which should adequately give me enough amperage. Not probably as long as the 10 amp D cells, but it will sustain the drive. You will see immediately, for those that have built the drive itself, that I've added quite a bit of stability improvements over the current source code. So let me turn it on, and you'll see that I'm going to I'm just going to start pairing my nav controllers. There's the primary, there's the secondary, and they will stay lit once they're paired. Pairing is pretty much it's not rocket science anymore. It's pretty easy. I've made it so that you just plug the controller into the USBs using the standard what is this, C or D class USB or mini. Oh boy. Anyway, it's one of these types into the standard USB connector, and it will pair. It learns what it has connected to it, and you put the dongle back in, reboot it, and off you go. So both controllers are now paired. I have it so that the enable functionality is through the X on the main controller. Once I turn it on, everything's enabled. Notice it's quiet. It's got that code in there that says, hey, if I'm sitting still, shut everything off. But you can clearly see it. Here's my turning. Notice that I'm not hopping all over the place, and it does turn off. So it will. It just sometimes it plays. But this is there's no hopping around with the side to side or anything. Main drive's all the same. I'm just doing drive controls right now, and if I hit the circle, it reverses direction. I just reversed direction, and I did the direction changes on all the components. So even though I'm going backwards the other way, I reverse the steering as well, and I reverse the head controls. So the head controls reverse as well. But yes, the second controller is dome. All sounds are just pushing combinations. Sorry, it's so loud. Through just combinations of buttons, different button combinations of like L1 and down, play music. Right, so I mean, this thing is, you can do anything you want. We can code it any way you want. But that's the current. I've been working with Robert Lucas on this, so him and I have gotten it down to pretty much a science. It has Joe's MKII functionality in it, where you hit the circle on the dome controller, and it will switch to servo mode. Now it can only turn 70 degrees each way, and if I change directions, it also reverses that. So very, very easy to use system. Pretty solid. Yes, we do have flywheel. Holding down L1 of the dome and using the left and right of the main controller will enable flywheel mode. So it's pretty easy to use. Two-handed controller, but you can keep these in your pocket, and nobody knows who's controlling the droid. So there you have it. That's the new shadow controls, and just wanted to show everybody that. So talk to you later.